Jose Siri with 2 down, and that's hit deep into the left field corner. Melendez is there with a sliding play. Wow. Running as hard as he can, going as far as he can, and then sliding into the wall.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Royals Recap. My name is Jacob Milham. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, Sunday evening, following the Kansas City Royals dropping the series finale against the Tampa Bay Rays 4-1. Let's go ahead and talk about it. But first, if you want some more concise, some more written, you want some visual cues, if you will, for your Royals analysis, the place to go check that out is at royalsreview.com. They have the news, analysis, and commentary you need on all things Royals. Plus, the game threads are nothing to laugh at. It's an interesting way to watch a game and keep it going. So let's talk about this game. Now, I know we were all hoping that the Royals would extend their winning streak to 9 games, maintain that tight margin behind the Cleveland Guardians, who are on a winning streak of their own. However, the Royals had already locked up a series win against the Tampa Bay Rays, something that hasn't been done since 2017, and a couple of key injuries to Kyle Isbell and Michael Massey left the Royals somewhat shorthanded today, and that was one of the difference makers in this contest. So, the good. Michael Wacha had another quality start. He wasn't stellar to start off his 2024 season. There were several issues. He was just allowing way too many hits, wasn't getting enough walks, and you were only noticing it when those hits were coming around, crossing home plate and doing damage. Today, the issue with him was, or in hindsight at least, because this isn't something we would be talking about if Michael Wacha pitched a clean 7th inning. But letting him come out for the 7th inning after an exhaustive 6th inning, after some lengthy pitching battles against those Rays batters, that should have been the end probably. He's your number 4 man for a reason. And Matt Quatraro had the bullpen rest edge today. I hammered that home in the recap and in the game thread. That was a minor thing that the Royals needed to leverage, and they didn't do so today, unfortunately, and that proved to be the difference. Wacha didn't allow an earned run until 2 runs crossed home plate after John Schreiber came in relief of him, and frankly, that inning was just the difference. Schreiber has normally been nails all of this season. They call him Johnny Leverage for a reason. But I'm not going to fault a guy for coming to the mound with no outs and a runner on second and on third. That's a tough spot to be put in at any level. And unfortunately, it was just too much for him, and that was the difference. It's okay. I'm not mad about that. I'm not frustrated about that. I'm just disappointed that was the difference. Some of the other difference makers or difference making points were on the Royals, though. They had notable chances to tie or take the lead in the 8th and the 9th. They were put in those positions. They had the go-ahead run at the plate at one point. They had the game-tying run at the plate in another inning. But Bobby Witt Jr. being sent around third base, going into a throwout at home plate, that was the difference. It's a very different spot to be in with bases loaded and 1 out rather than Vinny Pasquantino and Salvi on first and second with 2 outs. Okay, that could have changed the course of the game. And then Bobby Witt Jr. once again was at the plate with the chance to be the go-ahead run. That is who he represented. Bases loaded, 2 outs. This is where you expect your franchise stars to produce. And frankly, I'm not frustrated with Bobby for not knocking in a couple runs there. Another home run would have been great. It really would have. 4-1 is very different than 5-4. But he didn't. That's all that matters. Grounds out to second. That ends the game. That ends the Royals' winning streak. That ends the Tampa Bay's losing streak, because that was pretty long as well. This is, I don't know. I can't get mad about this game. This is why we have 162 games. It really is. Royals are still 14 games above 500. The bats just weren't there today. And so how many times have we seen the Royals pull a win out just because of one big inning? And that's the difference. We're just on the other end of it today. The Rays had one big inning. Michael Walker retired the first 15 Rays batters he faced off against. We're starting to wonder about a no-no. Now, those hopes didn't last very long, granted. But this is just one of those times there is balance amongst the baseball gods. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and this is just one of those times where the Royals lost in that one big inning fashion. I still think that their self-inflicted errors were a big difference. I know Bobby's got elite speed, but guess what? Randy Arozarena has an elite arm out there in left field last time I checked. And it wasn't all that deep. Salvi scooted that single past the shortstop, but it's not like Arozarena was at the wall or nothing. So that was questionable. We already talked about Waka. Will Smith, of all things, was the only reliever to come in and pitch a scoreless full inning. John Schreiber allowed 2 earned runs. Carlos Hernandez got the last out for him in the 7th inning. We'll hear from manager Matt Quatraro later on in the game, hear some of his thoughts on Waka's start and just how today went all in all. The big things of note that I'm taking away from this are MJ Melendez. He did reach base safely. He did have a great sliding catch out in left field. However, he was the only player that Quatraro pulled out of the game in favor of the newly promoted Nick Lofton making his return back to the major leagues. I still think that MJ has a very, very short leash, and we are seeing that get shorter and shorter with every struggling performance. He didn't have a hit today. He had a walk today, so you can say what you will about that. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. And I mean, Michael Massey, unfortunately, he's on the IL, 10-day IL. I think he's going to be on the IL much longer than 10 days. I really, really do. Okay, it's lower back stuff is no laughing matter. He was on the IL to start off this season with a strain. Now he's on it with a sprain in his lower back. So this is, I'm not saying it's a trend yet, but it's pretty close together and damn near the same thing. Too much to ignore. Nick Lofton was the guy who replaced him on the 26-man roster, by the way, and I have a feeling in my gut that Lofton is going to be up at the major league level for a long, long time. He was absolutely walloping AAA pitching. If you hadn't watched any of the games, there are just sometimes where you could tell players aren't just being lucky. They are just that much better than the competition. And that's what Nick Lofton looked like for the Storm Chasers. He was just that much better. And frankly, I hate that this is how he got the opportunity, but he deserves it, and I hope he takes it and runs with it. Coming up on the other side of the ad break, we will hear from manager Matt Quatraro. Stay tuned.
It was a good ball game. It was a really well pitched game. They came up with a big hit when they needed it, and we fought back and just came up a little bit short.
What'd you kind of see out of Michael Waka as he's going through those 6 innings there? Had a perfect game and then kind of just tried to finish off for you. Yeah,
he was throwing the ball great. I mean, it was super efficient. Didn't give up a hit till the 5th. Maybe sixth. It was throwing the ball tremendously well. I kept him off balance with his changeup. His slider was really good. Mixed in a lot of sinkers today, it looked like, as well. Early contact. And then, had those 2 tough at-bats with Yandy and DeLuca. Tried to send him back out for a couple more, and, clearly that didn't work. But, he threw the ball really well.
How tough a decision was that? I think he was 33 pitches, and this is, debating whether to send him out.
Yeah, those are always tough decisions. I mean, you're never going to know until you do it, right? And they're some of them work, some of them don't. That one stings because it didn't.
What made Taj Bradley kind of difficult to get a read on today for you guys?
Well, I mean, you look at what he's throwing. I mean, he's throwing upper 90s. He's got a cutter, a curveball, a split, and he was using them all effectively. So that's elite stuff.
When you look at what you guys were able to do this series against this Rays team, how much momentum does that kind of carry you over to you going to Minnesota?
Well, we won a series on the road against a good team. We'll take that.
In the 8th was an acceptable risk to send Witt home?
I mean, that coaching third base is one of the hardest, most lonely things to do in this game, and that's a really tough spot. It's really hard to stop Bobby because you know how fast he is, and guys, he beats almost every play to the plate. They put a ball on the money.
And MJ Melendez catch right there in the third inning. What'd you see on that from him?
Yeah, he made a great defensive play. He's played really well defensively. They robbed one from him up against the wall, and he robbed one from them up against the wall.
And how big of a bat was Gary Hampson's 12-pitch effort and drawing the walk there?
That's probably what got Bradley out after 5. The walk previously to MJ, that was a really good at bat as well. And the 12, I didn't know it was 12, but he tacked on some pitches right there, and that's probably what got him out of there.
Bobby has certainly settled in to be a leader on this ball club. He seems to be swinging the bat well and assuming his role. Talk a little bit about his skills and the way he's leading the club.
Well, I mean, I think I wouldn't put that all on his shoulders that he's the only leader. We have a really good group of guys in here up and down that are all leaders. He's extremely humble. His skills speak for themselves. He's an extreme talent, and it's a pleasure to watch him play.
Alrighty, y'all, that is just about going to do it for today's Royals recap presented by Royals Review. I'm going to go ahead and get on over to your Spotify Q&A responses. If y'all are listening to us for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. After each episode, if you listen to us on Spotify, you have access to our polls and our questions and answers, and I read your responses on air in the following episode. Let's go back to May 24th, the last Royals recap that we had. Nate Hodge says, how is Seth Lugo not an AL Cy Young frontrunner? Dude is mowing down batters start after start. And yeah, Seth Lugo's just not sexy enough, Nate. He's just not the face that the league wants to push right now. He's outperforming 99% of the pitchers at the major league level. And I'm thinking that Seth shutting down the Minnesota Twins, hopefully that will be the coming out party that he deserves on a major league level. Ginger620 says, the Royals just can't stop playing some ball. Even if Tampa is the beast they used to be, it's great to get a win here again. And that's one reason why it's hard for me to be frustrated about this. The Royals hadn't won a series against Tampa Bay in nearly a decade. All right, this is the organization that many fans wanted them to emulate, and here the Royals are with Paul Hoover and Matt Quatraro, two longtime former Rays, going down to Tropicana Field and handling business. Fistfer says, quote, the Royals, they are good, end quote, Max Reaper. Christopher Palmer says, how about those Royals? 7 in a row. This team is so fun to watch. What a difference a year makes. The boys are playing some ball. Let's go Royals. Cannot disagree with any of that. Mind the Mooses says, love seeing Q getting Fermin some more playing time. He really adds depth to the lineup when he is in there. And yeah, he was another positive contributor in today's game. Unfortunately, I think the loss is going to overshadow that unfairly, I will say. And I don't know, with Vinny, he's in another slump. I wouldn't be surprised to see more Freddie behind the plate. He had 1 hit today. He had 1 walk. So reaching base 2 times in the game is nothing to wag a finger at. Plus, his batting average on the season is up to 306. So that's a pretty good benchmark to be at. All right, y'all, I'm going to get on out of here and get on with my weekend. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on the Royals Recap. If you want to follow along with myself or the Royals Rundown team, our social media links are down in the podcast description below. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, go Royals!